I'm on?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Reginal Juzan Bey. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama, and I've been here in Atlanta, Georgia for approximately 6.5 to 7 years. I came up here to, first of all, to just get out of Mobile. But, further along, I got into going to college and lived the college life for about 1.5 years, and I basically was unsatisfied with that whole college atmosphere. Being interactive with the kids, with the other classmates was great, but beyond the institution and trying to get involved in that so-called learning in the institution really didn't work. Is sound coming through?
No. You got audio? Okay.
The audio's on?
Yes.
Okay, they're trying to make all the adjustments. I'd like to thank everybody that did come out. This is not going to be the last one that I'm going to do here at Cultural. This is going to be done for the next 4 weeks. And I'm going to be dealing with extensively the Constitution of the United States and the Moroccan Treaty of Peace. And it's more so leaning toward nationality than it is citizenship, because at the present time, citizenship has gotten us into a whole world of trouble as we go through our daily lives and the things that we do. A little bit more background on myself. I did pass out an article. I'm presently in a court case with Cobb County for being charged with practicing law without a license. Now, within the last year, I heavily got into law based on traffic. Was about 2 years ago, I was coming home from the radio station and at WRFG on 89.3. And as I was coming home, I went into a roadblock, and it was my first encounter with a roadblock. So they asked for the driver's license and the proof of insurance, and I didn't have either. So I thought it would be, a ticket, and you go to court and you show them that you have these things, it'll be done with. Well, they impounded the car and they locked me up, and I couldn't understand it. I really didn't understand, how can you get locked up for not having a driver's license or a proof of insurance card on you? So went to the pretrial detention center. That was my very first time in pretrial, and or any type of jail for that matter. So when I got out, I went to court, and the judge postponed it because the officer didn't show up, and then they reset the court date again, and then after that, went to the next court date. The judge dismissed it again because the officer who allegedly arrested me at that point didn't show up. It was at that point I figured one or two things was wrong. Either I didn't know something or I was doing something wrong. It was either what I wasn't doing or it was something I was doing. And come to find out that it was both. I didn't know that the contract to drive was actually a contract and not really a privilege. I didn't know that the Social Security card that I had was a contract, not really a privilege. Something that I engaged in voluntarily, whether I knew it or not. It was still a contract. So a friend of mine started showing me information or enlightening me to certain information as it pertains to traffic about how to beat traffic tickets. So, I got into my car and I went out and deliberately got a speeding ticket one day just to see if the information would work. So my arguments in court was procedure. Did they violate any type of procedure as it pertains to the laws or the statutes regarding traffic here in the state of Georgia? So I did this like 4 times after I won. The first time was on speeding, was on unlawful use of radar detection devices. People don't know that radar detection is unlawful in the state of Georgia. So when I went to court, after I was caught by speeding on the first time, the judge asked me how did I plead, and I told him I don't have a plea, but if you allow the officer to explain his version of the story, you'll understand why I don't have a plea. So when we went through the motions, I explained to the judge that the officer was in violation of Title 40, which is in which he's guilty of a misdemeanor for the use of radar detection devices. The judge thought I was crazy, but when I showed him Title 40, he had a different story. he dismissed the case.
Is that radar detection devices or the radar itself?
The radar detection devices.
That's what you go by Radio Shack.
No, well, see, we're talking about the radar itself.
Oh, okay.
See, the radar itself is a detection device for speed.
Okay.
And in the state of Georgia is unlawful under Title 40-1410. So that was my argument. My argument was, under 40-1410, it is unlawful for any law enforcement official of any county, municipality, college campus, or highway to use radar speed detection devices where a permit has not been issued or where one has been issued and has been revoked or suspended. It shall be unlawful for any official of such county to order the use of any radar speed detection devices. So see, whether or not the officer had the permit is not the point. Whoever issued him the permit wasn't supposed to. So the judge had to go back and keep rereading until he finally got it. And he did, because I was persistent about it. Because I wasn't going to plead. There was no reason for me to plead. I had an argument. And my argument was, under Title 40, procedurally, he wasn't supposed to use radar speed detection devices. Radar is unlawful in the state of Georgia. Always has been. And there's a number of reasons why it's unlawful. Due to one of the main reasons why it's unlawful is the fact that it emits radiation to the officers. Officers get cancer because of the radars. Lasers are radar detection devices too. So lasers are just as unlawful as radar is. Both of them are unlawful. So when you go into the courts, you have to have, if you have the driver's license and you have the Social Security card, your only remedy or your only recourse as a citizen is procedure. But see, procedure has very many boundaries that you can't cross. You can't argue constitutional rights if you have contracts. If you go to your Constitution, all right, at the very beginning, I'm going to be speaking about how you assert your constitutional rights when you do not have these contracts. I'm going to show you how powerful this document and beautifully written it is, and it pertains to us because we wrote it. The white boys didn't come over here and just all of a sudden put these beautiful words together with the definitions to go with them. We wrote it for them. We helped set up what's called the United States of America. And most people don't know the United States of America is not 50 states. It's only 13. And they're going back to because of the way that the United States has unlawfully acquired certain territories. The Aboriginal peoples around the world are reclaiming their lands that were stolen from them. And this is part of that process over here now. The Empress has taken up with Louisiana the lands that she has back from the United States because the Louisiana Purchase was never sold. Napoleon never sold no Louisiana territory. There's very much so explained in the Empress's book, and if you talk with Emiola or Uma, they can probably make arrangements to order the book for you if it's still in print. I'm quite sure it's still in print. Okay. But in the beginning, it says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensures domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." That's for everybody, black, white, green, purple. It didn't say any particular group of people. It said we the people. We the people meaning the body of people. I'm going to break down the definitions as we go a little bit further into the seminar. But the way they catch us is in contracts. And let me find it for you real quickly here. In the Constitution, they have provided that no impairment of contracts. Your driver's license is a contract. Your social security card is a contract. You see, the government can't make you do anything, but it can trick you into doing certain things. You have to do it to yourself in order for them to do it to you. Even when you go to court and you're being charged with any type of crime, whether it be misdemeanor or felony or any type of infamous crime, the judge will then have to continue to ask your permission even to incarcerate you. Even at the point of the trial, when the trial is basically over with and the verdict is read, and the judge will ask you, is there any reason why here today we should not sentence you? It's at that point prosecution and defense attorneys cannot say anything more about the case. It's you and the judge. You can go back to the very first day of the trial. That's called an allocution hearing. It's at that point when you can raise all the issues that the defense did not raise as the attorneys for you, and you can also raise issues that the prosecution may have overlooked. It's called an allocution hearing. No one ever goes to jail because the system puts them there. A lot of people don't know, and it's all because they don't know, that they can't lawfully lock you up for anything. They still have to continue to ask your permission for that. If you're actually guilty of something, you'll punish yourself. That's why in the preamble of the Constitution, it states that we the people rule. You're supposed to be responsible for yourself. The government is not supposed to be responsible for you. As we look in Article 3 of the Constitution, Article 3 in Section 2, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made, or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under the grants of different states, and between a state or citizen thereof and foreign state citizens or subjects. And the last part there was very key, would be citizens or subjects. You have subject citizens and you also have free citizens. Free citizens are those citizens who are not bound by any contracts. So in there, the subjects are subject to the United States and the laws thereof. And the laws that the subjects are bound to are statutory laws. They're not real laws. Citizens are free citizens with a nationality that they claim to have laws that are governed under what's called common law or natural law or your constitutional law. Your constitutional law is no more than your natural law, where you're more so responsible for yourself than the government is. So, as we're seeing here, that they have made ways to allow people to enslave themselves, but they have not made any means for involuntary servitude or slavery, and as it pertains to the physical use of slavery, they're telling you, you got to wake up, you got to do this, as we were used to when we was over here. And that's another thing. We've also been told that we were brought from slave ships from Africa over here. We were already here. We already had 5 nations already set up. Really, there were 10. There were 5 misnomer Indians. There were also 5 what's called Moorish nations that together collectively was one nation. The Indians were misnomer by the Europeans. That's what they will call for a point of reference for the Europeans. The Indians are you and I and all the other Moors and unconscious Moors. Now, it's also very interesting that the so-called Indians like your Navajo, your Cherokee, your Choctaw, who have what's called reservations, all their rights are fully respected because they have totally detached themselves from the government. They have no social security cards, no driver's license, no none of that. But they still operate what we call motor vehicles. They still have cars, and they still drive upon the interstates and highways. They don't get harassed or pulled over because their nationality is intact. And they know how to assert their nationality. And they don't deal with the United States in any of their courts. They always take it to the international courts. But this is a very interesting document. On Article 6, Section 2, this Constitution and laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding, any laws that they erect through legislation or administration that is in contrary to the Constitution is null and void of law. I'm going to give y'all 10 wonderful Supreme Court cases that deal with that. That any laws that are in violation of the Constitution are null and void of law, and you can exercise a right under the Constitution with impunity. Whenever you go into the courts, if you're charged with speeding, running a red light, or a stop sign, they cannot make any rules or regulations that will prohibit your right to travel as opposed to your privilege to drive. We're not talking about a person to just go out here and speed up and down the highways and cause and create accidents. And we're not talking about people to just run red lights and stop signs whenever they get ready. We're talking about people who will take full responsibility for their motor vehicle. That's why insurance was set up. Because when they gave you the driver's license, they immediately put the stipulation of insurance in there because you weren't going to be held responsible for it, the insurance company was. So all you have to do is take your $100 or $200 a month to pay your insurance on your car, especially if it's a new model car. Each time you get a new model car, the insurance rates go up and they get paid because they know you're not going to challenge them. Especially the police officers. Out of 1,000 violations that an officer may do in a month's time, he may get about 1 or 2 people who will resist those charges to the fullest extent, and as it pertains to in the courtrooms. A lot of other people will go in and, like, if you ever been in traffic court and the judge will ask you, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, guilty with an explanation. It just trips me out how many people will go in and say guilty with an explanation. You know, like there's going to be some mercy upon the courts. Well, Your Honor, I was trying to get to go pick my mother up and take her to the doctor because she wasn't feeling well. Well, okay, well that's fine, young man. That's still going to be $75. See the cashier on your way out. But also, we haven't learned how to really effectively go into these courtrooms and assert our constitutional rights, because if a person really knew what rights they had, they would stop a whole lot of garbage that's going on right at the onset of where everything began. Now, let's go to the First Amendment. Congress shall make no laws.
What page is that?
1645. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Freedom of religion is the most powerful tool that you have in a courtroom, as is being charged with anything. Your employers cannot make you get a Social Security number or make you give up your Social Security number. In fact, your opposition to the Social Security number should be your religion. Whether you Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, your use of that Social Security number is in violation of your constitutional rights for privacy. It should also be against your religion, because God does not number His children, He names them. You don't need a number to identify you. When were any of y'all ever born with a number? Did mom, when she saw you, said, okay, you're going to be 321-68-2134. You see what I'm saying? God names His children. But for the government, because they have the power to create what's called corporations, when you get the number, they have created a corporation that's just like you. For example, whenever y'all go home, get your driver's license if you have it, and you're going to see your name in all caps. Go to the obituary section of your newspaper and look under where you see the number of people that have died. Their names are in all caps. When your names are appearing in all caps, either you're dead or you're a corporation. In this case, since we are alive and moving around, we're what's referred to as dead corporations, or we're corporations that they have created by the use of the number. The number incorporates you into the United States. That's something that they have created. That's how they became God over the people, because people have given up their rights that are endowed by their Creator for privileges granted to them by the they're giving up their rights that God had given them for the privileges that the government can give, like your Social Security benefits. Well, if you get laid off, we'll give you your $200 a week for the next 18 to 21 weeks. Is it now? But see, is that really a privilege, or is that servitude? Is that something that the government is going to give you and something they're going to want to return at a later date? The Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. We don't need Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Each and every person should be responsible to protect themselves. You have a constitutional right to not only keep your arms, but to also bear them, which means you can keep your arms on you at all times. But the government has set up an atmosphere to where its people are so ignorant they don't even know how to assert these rights. That's why all these militia groups, especially up in Michigan, Michigan has the strongest group of militias. That right after the Oklahoma bombings, Bill Clinton was going to, first he was going to put it on the Muslim community. But when the Arabs told him that if you blame us for these bombings, we're going to create a jihad right now. And they had the military backing to do that. So then he was like, well, this must be something done eternally. So then he was going to blame the militias for it. Then the militias, which have 70 million members, armed, and they're in Montana and in Michigan mainly. They wrote him that Sunday after the bombing, while he was giving a State of the Union address, stating that if they implement the Michigan militias or any militia member to these bombings, they'll storm D.C. And that their numbers have escalated from 10 million to 80 million over the last 10 years, and a number of these militias have infiltrated the military. So see, the military backed down from defending Bill Clinton. They told him there's no way that we can actually fight these people because they have the same type of weaponry that we have. So then that's when the focus on the militias kind of settled down. That's when the presidency backed off of him trying to attack the militia movement. And see, we need to have a militia movement. These are things that white folks have discovered that affects them. They have finally realized that their number, their Social Security number, puts them in the same category as black people were in with their numbers. They created slaves out of everybody through trickery. They told you need this number to work and to get this and to get that and the other, not knowing that it is a voluntary contract that you have entered into. Either your parents did it for you while you was at birth, or you did it when you turned 18. The majority of us, our parents did it for us. Right at birth, right after she had us, you know, they went and got the cards. Right after you had the baby, they was like, sign this, and you went and signed it, and she, not knowing what it was her form to go get the card for you. But you can also turn these cards back in, and I'm going to show you what I did to turn mine, because I don't have a card. I gave back my Social Security card, gave back my driver's license. I operate in the right to travel, and I know how to assert my rights. And whenever I go to court, I assert my rights. And my court case, they moved my court case 3 times because too many people, for one, know about the trial, and 2, I'm not no rookie when it comes to going in and dealing with them in their courtrooms. The judge, this particular judge in my case, has given me enough respect to allow certain things to be done that most people, you know, she kind of like just brushes off to the side. But, you know, when you know, it's a whole different attitude towards you. Amendment 3. No soldier in time of peace shall be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. 4th Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly prescribing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Whenever you're driving and an officer wants to see your driver's license or your proof of insurance, and you give it to them, and they ask you to step out the car, and they flash the light in your car to look into it, they just violated your 4th Amendment right. Because he did not have a warrant to go into your car, first of all, and secondly, he doesn't even know who you are until after he's asked you for your driver's license. So why was he pulling you over? An arrest of any sort is a violation of your 4th Amendment right.
Excuse me, anyone driving this car here?
So,
Green car?
yeah, your house, your 4th Amendment covers not only your house, but your vehicle, because the vehicle is the extension of the home. You should be secure in your home as well as your vehicle, which is an extension of your home. You use it to carry out your daily travels, to take care of your business, and is an extension of your homes. And as you're going to read further on, there shall be no bills of attainder. A traffic ticket is a bill of attainder. What makes it a bill of attainder is that the officer has came to the conclusion that you are guilty without you ever going to court, and we're having a judge decide whether or not you're guilty. When he writes out that ticket, and he writes down there the offense that you're being charged with, he's not charging you with anything. He's saying that you are guilty of. How did he come to the conclusion that you're guilty? Was there a jury present? And who was injured because you did 80 miles an hour on the highway? There was no offended party. And as an officer, he cannot be an offended party and the prosecution at the same time. It's impossible. The 5th Amendment. No person shall be held to answer a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense twice put into jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled to, in any criminal case, to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. When the officer asks you for your name, what he's doing is getting you to testify against yourself. May I see your driver's license and proof of insurance? Your first question should be, are you arresting me? Are you detaining me? Which they both are the same, but you want a validation from him that he's arresting you. At the next point would be is, do you have a warrant for my arrest? He's going to then ask you, well, I don't know who you are. Well, then how can you stop me? How can you pull me over? When you have to give out your name to a police officer or to anybody else, what you're doing is you're testifying against yourself, and then you do it again when you get to court. Where it says, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, each person is technically innocent until proven guilty. But on the traffic ticket, you're presumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. They have switched the tables around. The reason why they switch the tables around is because it is hard for prosecution to prove the guilt of anybody. But it's much more, it makes their job easier if you prove that you are innocent rather than they prove that you are guilty. Under the Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district where the crime shall have been committed, when district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory processes for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance of counsel for his defense. It said nothing about a member to a bar for assistance of counsel. If this sister right here was charged with speeding, she can get that brother right there to defend her if she wanted to. Whomever she trusts to defend her, not a member of the bar. The member, there's nothing, I'm not making attacks against lawyers, because you might find one that's good. But 10 times out of 10, most lawyers have an obligation to the Bar Association. And whenever that obligation to the bar is confronted with defending your rights, then he must put your rights aside and do what is favorable for the bar. So you are last on the list when it comes to defense from a usual member of the bar. But as it states right here, you have a right to assistance of counsel for your defense. It didn't say anything about a member to the bar. That's why it's much better if you do know the law so that you can protect yourself, because no one else knows anything more about your case better than you.